Are the San Francisco 49ers throwing out smoke screens a week before the NFL draft? And can the 49ers afford to pay two $25 million wide receivers? Checking in on mock drafts and more on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker. I almost didn't realize it was going to be time to start talking with the shorter new intro. Let us know if you like the new intro at BD Peacock, at Crocky209 on Twitter, or of course, you can always drop a question or a comment on YouTube. We're going to respond to actually a comment from YouTube on today's program. Thanks for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Croc. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. We all love Monopoly, right? Monopoly Go. And I admit it, I have a competitive side, and I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go because I can battle with my friends in a different way, but still the feel of classic Monopoly. It's a twist on classic Monopoly, a mobile hit game. We're talking millions of people have already downloaded. So join your friends, download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play.
Peacock.
Yeah.
We're talking about wide receivers. We're talking about smoke screens. Offense sprinkled in there. Do the 49ers need a receiver? All that. Do they need to pay two receivers north of $25 million per year? And this is off topic of anything we were going to discuss, but I did see Warren Sapp, and he had some comments on how to win a Super Bowl, kind of what you need. And he said, defense doesn't win championships anymore. He said, defense gives you the opportunity to win championships. And then your $100+ million quarterback wins you the championship. Do you think for the 49ers to really take that next step to where they're not $100 million quarterback right now, but obviously that's where Brock Purdy's trending, does he need not more dynamic receiver? He has two really good receivers. Could he use another one that really could help put this offense over the top?
Can we talk about Warren Sapp for a second? Because I love watching him speak because everything he says is so important. And I wonder what it's like to encounter Warren Sapp in like a normal everyday interaction. Like you're working the counter at the drive-thru, right? And Warren Sapp pulls up and his eyes get really big. He's like, I want a double with cheese. Like, would you like fries? Of course I want fries. You know how he overdoes everything. You're like, okay, chill out, Warren. Oh, here's your hamburger with fries. I get it. But everything, the way he says everything is like so important. But I mean, of course, that's a huge question. If you're like the Carolina Panthers, maybe they screwed up whatever they did in the draft last year, trading up to get a quarterback. But the opportunity to try to get that thing that is clearly the most valuable thing in sports, even if you make a mistake, is it a mistake? And are any of these other teams making a mistake? Like if the New York Giants draft a wide receiver, who cares who your wide receiver is at number 6? Draft a quarterback. Try to get that difference-making thing that you clearly don't have. And I agree with Warren Sapp in that account. And that's why I applaud a team like the Cardinals, who, even though they had just drafted a first-round quarterback, like, well, that's not it. Let's try it again. Let's go. I mean, I think that's a smart way to go about it. And maybe they have to do it again. But it's too important to just be like, well, we got a mediocre-ass quarterback. Let's just go draft this other position then because we have a quarterback. And, obviously we're doing a 49ers podcast, so some people are going to say, well, Brock Purdy is a mediocre-ass quarterback. He's just good because everything else is around him. I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I do think that if you're only chasing Mahomes, then you're just going to chase it forever. So you have to chase a quarterback that's good enough to make a difference for you to win football games and hope that you get a Mahomes level of that, if that makes sense. So yes and no to what Warren Sapp's saying. It kind of depends on who your quarterback is. And do you think you're better than most teams because you have the quarterback that you have?
I like that. And, my take, and I've kind of caught a little flag. I saw a comment. I think I responded to it. But he said, Croc, offensive line play. Like, you can't overlook that. You're saying that the quarterback has to make the play, but we're not addressing the offensive line. And I could be very naive with this. I think he threw out some stats as well in the comments and talked about how the 49ers have a middle-of-the-pack offensive line. And in my opinion, and I could be naive, you guys check me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I will always say you just need your quarterback to just make that play. Because a lot of times, if you think about how quarterbacks win the Super Bowl, or like that one play that kind of puts it over the top, think about what that quarterback is under at that time. Think about the Eli Manning plays, right? Eli Manning got wrapped up, slung around, and he just heaved it up, and the guy made a miraculous catch, right? The one with on the sideline to Mario Manningham, right? Like, just threw it. I mean, these guys are under duress. One of the more infamous plays that the 49ers have had to go up against in recent years in the Super Bowl a few years ago against Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes was under duress. He had to drop back like 20 yards and just let it fly to a certain area. And then his guy ended up being there, and he made the play. Like, we could talk about the offensive line. I believe, and this was kind of my comments in the chat, felt like the 49ers offensive line was good enough to win the Super Bowl. Were they dominant? No, right? Was Kansas City Chiefs offensive line dominant? I'd say absolutely not. I'd argue that Mahomes was under as much duress, if not maybe more. Now, again, the rebuttal to that is going to be, well, there were some free runners, unfortunate, right? But as a whole, what it was going to take to win the Super Bowl is just making that play that's not there to be made. And I believe that Brock Purdy, we've seen him make those plays. Now you just have to make that play in that moment. But maybe it is having a receiver that, like, I mean, will we be talking about Eli Manning as a Hall of Fame quarterback if his receivers didn't make catches with the ball on their head?
Right. Maybe not.
So I think those two go hand in hand, and we keep driving home receiver maybe even more than the offensive line, because when push comes to shove and that offensive lineman gets beat, because it's bound to happen no matter what team you play for, quarterback has to deliver, receiver has to make a play. I think that's why they get paid the big bucks, and that's why it continues to be a driving conversation throughout this offseason.
It goes back to the draft a few years ago in 2021, where Bengals fans were at each other's throats about what's more important, wide receiver or offensive tackle, and should they draft Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. And as it turns out, I think the most important thing when it comes to the draft is just hit on the guys you do take. And I think both picks would have actually been great. And both teams, you know, the Lions ended up with Sewell. They love that they got Sewell, and the Bengals love that they got Jamar Chase, right? So it ended up probably not mattering because they were both hits. And now the Bengals have tried to figure out offensive line because they didn't draft Sewell, but now they have an extra wide receiver that they might end up trading away, right? So what's the most important thing? Burrow gets hurt. Would offensive line have been better still? Now that you look back, even though Jamar Chase has been such a hit, and I don't think Bengal fans would take that pick back. So I think you're always going to have a chicken and egg argument about all of these things and what's most important. The rough thing from that standpoint is this was the best year to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs because he was rough at receiver and offensive line, and the Niners still couldn't beat him, right? Like, this was the year to get him. And next year, maybe they take a step back, say, on defense, but they'll probably be better on the offensive line and at receiver this year. Probably address one of those two spots at pick 32 right after the 49ers.
I've heard a lot of arguments about how it wasn't Mahomes that beat the 49ers. It was the Chiefs defense. But again, my rebuttal to that would be it was Mahomes when he needed to make that play.
Or just so if it was the defense, it was what the defense did to Brock Purdy, and it wasn't what the 49ers defense did to Mahomes, which still makes it a quarterback thing. Like, it's always going to come down to the quarterbacks, basically, is what you're saying.
And if you are a 49er fan, probably are listening to the show, that is not a bad thing. I think everyone that listens to the show has a lot of confidence that Purdy, we watched him make the plays. And winning the big game is great on great for the Super Bowl. It is great versus great. It's going to come down to all these different things that happen, a fumble in the game, a weird bounce and it hits your, somebody's leg on your team and it sets them up in scoring position. All these weird things will happen. But at the end of the day, more Super Bowls than not is going to come down to this moment where who makes the plays that's not there to be made. And you have opportunities. The 49ers had opportunities. And they weren't able to make the same plays that the Kansas City Chiefs were in that moment. And that's what's stopping. A lot of people talk about, okay, Kyle Shanahan win the Super Bowl. There's these, I can think of a specific play by a quarterback where you say, man, if this play happens, are we having this conversation about Kyle? If Jimmy converts on the throw, other people might say, well, the defense gave up this much in the fourth quarter. Okay, I hear you. A couple passes got batted down. If Jimmy is able to maneuver around Chris Jones and the ball not get batted down, are we having this conversation about Kyle? If Brock, instead of looking to the flats first, when the free runner, Chris Jones, gosh, terrorizing the 49ers. But if Chris Jones running right at him and he says, you know what? I remember Ayuk to the backside. Let me just throw it in the back of the end zone. And all of a sudden, Ayuk's wide open and you make that play. Are we having a conversation? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, are we already building statues of Purdy and Shanahan?
Right. So those are the things where I definitely feel like my bad, y'all, TV. I definitely feel like the 49ers have some of the right things going, but okay, Brock, now we just got to make that play. Like, that's why you are going to get paid the big bucks. But with one of these smokescreen receivers, help. They targeted Deebo Samuel a lot in that game, and he had like 3 catches on like 11 or 12 targets.
Yeah.
How can you help your quarterback out in that scenario?
And it's also fair to say if the 49ers offensive line was better, the 49ers might have won the Super Bowl. That is a fair thing to say.
But I've seen the 49ers have a great offensive line, and they still didn't win the Super Bowl.
But we're talking about a different football game, right? Different losses for different reasons. Next, let's talk wide receiver smoke screens. And can the 49ers afford to pay two $25 million per year wide receivers? Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've all been there as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure if your team can pull out the win. That's when you dig deep. You lift up your head and say to yourself, it's time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game, Monopoly Go, lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. You can also team up with your buddies as well to crack open community chess and win tournaments and get extra rewards and climb the leaderboards. You can play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards all at once. You can charge other players rent on those iconic Monopoly properties. So get back out there, put your game face on, and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. Are the 49ers sending out smoke screens right now, or is there something to potentially the Niners drafting a wide receiver in the first round? And if the 49ers are drafting a wide receiver in the first round, Croc, does that mean they're trading Brandon Ayuk on draft day, or could they keep Ayuk and still spend pick 31 on a wide receiver? We've now heard from Matt Mayoko, Matt Barrows, Peter Schrager's latest mock draft. There's a lot of smoke around a wide receiver potentially with the 49ers at the end of round one. What are your thoughts on it's lying season? Do you think the Niners are throwing out some stuff? And we know they've done that in the past, right? Adam Schefter looked directly into our eyes, Croc, and said, Mac Jones is the pick at 3, right? 49ers were happy he said that. The 49ers did not want the real story out there, although it didn't matter who they took because no one was trading in front of them because the first 2 picks were already set. Are the 49ers out here lying? Are they playing the draft game? Or could the 49ers draft a wide receiver at 31? And if the 49ers draft a receiver at 31, is it because they're trading away Brandon Ayuk, Croc?
I think if the 49ers draft a receiver at 31, it's because they traded Brandon Ayuk because they did not want to pay 2 receivers $24+ million. And this is not a just to talk by content creators, right? Which we saw that in the comments.
I know the reference.
This is how are the 49ers structured offensively. We have said time and time again the pecking order of the 49ers offense and how to utilize their weapons and how they even view kind of Brandon Ayuk, right? Like just how they've shown they view him. And everything goes through Christian McCaffrey. And in the biggest game of the season, when you needed to try to get something going, they threw the ball to Deebo Samuel 11 times. Deebo Samuel had second most touches out of any 49ers offensive player to Christian McCaffrey. Then you know what George Kittle's impact is on this team. So for a guy who is kind of a little bit lower, even though he's the most productive pass catcher, still a little bit lower on the pecking order of where he is and how he fits into the offense consistently, right? Drawing up things specifically for this guy. Are you going to pay $25+ million to him? Now, why people say Peacock doesn't know what he's talking about is because, well, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're paying two guys $25+ million. And my rebuttal to that is, well, those guys are 1 and 2 in the pecking order of that offense. A lot of their the running game that they got from that team, a lot of it kind of came through the quarterback as well. So they didn't have Christian McCaffrey that was touching the ball 20+ times a game. They had Swift, who, if you play, Prize Picks or Underdog Fantasy, you see his touches were around 13.5 carries or so. And it's like he's kind of lucky if he gets that. The guys were the two receivers. So because there's such a bigger focal point in the offense, you pay them more. I don't see the 49ers. I don't want to say I don't see it. I could see them doing that if they change the philosophy on how they want to run their offense and they just want to keep really good players around. I could see that. But to me, it would make more sense to say, you know what? We kind of like how we do things. We like the order of how we do things. And now this part might just be conversation, but we like the order of how we do things. So, okay, this team offered us a first round for Ayuk. Let's trade him. And to me, that's when it would make sense that the 49ers draft a receiver at 31.
I agree. If the 49ers draft a receiver at 31, that very likely means they have already spent a first-round pick that they already acquired for Brandon Ayuk on a different position. That's my thought, because
and what you're saying right there is 49ers got pick 18, so they drafted offensive line at pick 18, and then, all right, yes, we traded away Ayuk for that pick 18, but now oh man, they got one of these young, fast receivers that we see can have a specific role in his offense and complement Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Juwan Jennings. Let's go grab that guy.
Right. That's the vibe I would get about the 49ers. And who knows, maybe they trade for a pick and just spend that pick like they did with DeForest Buckner on the position they traded away. So that's a possibility too. You can never say never know what the 49ers are going to do. If the best player available is a wide receiver and they think he's a difference-making player and they know they're going to move on from one of these two receivers, Deebo or Ayuk, later anyway, then make the pick, and it's a pick for the future, and you develop him, and then he's ready to go as a number 1 or number 2 next year to go with whichever guy you are keeping. In that case, it would probably be like if the 49ers are on the clock at 31 and they haven't drafted yet and they haven't traded Ayuk staying. That's the way I look at it.
And we don't expect receiver.
Right. Yes. If folks aren't sure what Croc was getting at earlier, we had a comment on YouTube from Brian Middlecoff, and he says Peacock always says that the Niners can't pay 2 wide receivers $50 million, but the Eagles are about to do just that with a $50 million quarterback too. Clearly, they think they can make it work. Why can't the Niners? And then there was a reply to that from someone named Dre All Day or something like that. Says they can make it work, but these content creators just be talking out their necks and so on. So are we just talking out our necks, Croc? Or can the 49ers fit into $25 or $25 million wide receivers like the Eagles? And the first thing I will say to that is neither the 49ers nor the Eagles will actually be paying 2 wide receivers $25 million at the first time, even if they re-sign Brandon Ayuk, even after Devontae Smith has been re-signed, because the Eagles, or Devontae Smith currently is on the 4th year of a 5-year rookie contract. This 3-year extension for Devontae Smith starts after the 5th-year option. That's not this year. That's not next year. He's signed on his 3-year extension 26, 27, and 28 because his 5th-year option will be 2025. So that's when A.J. Brown's contract ends. So they're not paying 2 wide receivers at the same time. Just like the 49ers won't be if they re-sign Brandon Ayuk, because they'll either get out from under Debo's contract before it hits big in 2025, or have Ayuk's contract so backloaded that they can even keep Debo around another year. So both contracts aren't hitting the cap huge at the same time. So neither team will be. So I still stand by where I'm at. And the Eagles won't pay 2 wide receivers $25 million with an expensive quarterback. And I don't think the 49ers will either. But
so you're expecting A.J. Brown to be gone from the Eagles in the next couple of years. By the time the Devontae Smith contract kicks in, it's like, all right, there won't be another A.J. Brown out there.
Basically, what the Eagles are saying is we're going to pay Smith longer than we're going to pay A.J. Brown. And what the 49ers are going to say, and what they should say, is we're going to pay Brandon Ayuk in 2027 when we're not paying Debo Samuel.
And the football players know the business side of this. All right. I remember being in a meeting room with Antonio Cromartie, and this was the day after the Jets drafted D. Milliner, 9th overall. And Cromartie said, I won't be here next year. Like, he just knew the business side of it. Like, you understand that. Mm-hmm. But, that is this is a job. And I think people forget that, for these athletes, it's a job. He's making $9-10 million a year. Their way to kind of get from under that was, hey, let's draft a guy 9th overall, and eventually, Cromartie, you'll be out of here. And he understood that. A.J. Brown, when that extension was signed by Devontae Smith, I'm pretty sure A.J. started counting. Okay, wait, they put it out to 3 years, and then I'm looking at my contract, and I have 1, 2. Oh, I will be the odd man out.
Yeah, I'll be here for a couple more years, but eventually, and that's still 3 years away. So that's an eternity in the NFL. You got 3 more years on your contract. That's crazy. Most people don't know where they're going to be playing in 3 years from right now. Next, Dane Brugler's 7-round mock draft. Dane has really become one of the best NFL draft analysts out there. He dropped The Beast earlier this week, which has so much information. It's the best draft guide you can find from The Athletic. Dane Brugler's 7-round mock draft. Let's talk about some of his 49ers picks next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio, right? And deal with the rising cost of inflation, pay off your debt, your mortgage, pretty much anything standing in the way of you in financial freedom, right? So with Yahoo Finance, you can get access to all the news, data, tools you need in order to help you reach that financial freedom. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor, you're looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place, which is so key. So for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. All right, Croc, are you done talking about wide receivers? You were heated there for a second about the 49ers, what they might do at wide receiver, if wide receiver matters as much as offensive line and quarterbacks.
Nah, he did just talking. Okay. That is a conversation I would have with my brother. When I look at the chat, I look at the comments in the chat, I look at that like it's like my family. In my family, there's things that we disagree on certain ways, and then we just have a discussion about it. And that's what that is. So all of y'all, man, you guys are the everydayers. You guys are family. So it's never personal. It's just fun discussion.
You got to keep us honest. We don't want to just be talking out our necks over here.
Maybe we didn't do a good job of going as deep,
right,
or elaborating. on what exactly it was that we meant, but I think you did a great job of explaining that today.
And whether it's the DeForest Buckner thing or Brandon Ayuk now, teams can do a lot. Like the Eagles aren't paying Nick Bosa either, which helps them. But there are some financial realities, and you can kick the can down the road more, which the 49ers are. We're starting to see void years in 2028, right? So the 49ers might be willing to do something now that they weren't willing to do with DeForest Buckner back in the day, as far as putting it on the credit card a little bit. We've seen teams like the Saints where it looks like there is no salary cap because of what they're always constantly able to do. And sometimes it seems like it might hurt them, and it kind of doesn't, and it kind of does. How willing are the 49ers to do that? They can do a lot if they want in the short term, but at some point it's going to affect you a little bit. And you're going to be, like the 49ers are paying dead money to D Ford. I think still this year. It's crazy, right? Now, if the 49ers are paying dead money to 10 different guys in 3 years, eventually it's going to start to stack up. But the cap keeps going up, but and eventually they're not going to be paying McCaffrey and Trent Williams, and who knows, maybe George Kittle. And so there's going to be some big money potentially coming off the board in the next few years. When that happens and when everything hits, it's just, the cap is too involved for us to even, and I'm not even qualified to get that deep into the salary cap. So the short answer is, man, show me a team that actually is paying two $25 million wide receivers at the same time, because it's not the Eagles right now. And it's not going to be the Eagles for 3 years. And it's not the 49ers right now. And it won't be the 49ers for 2 years if they do re-sign Brandon Ayuk. And that's at the minimum, and they still may never. But at the same time, teams, if they're motivated, can maneuver the cap and do a lot of stuff if they're motivated to keep certain players around.
And it's not clearly the Cincinnati Bengals right now. They're trying not to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you just came up with this off the top of the dome. I've never heard this reference, but using the credit card, that was good. That was a bar.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Croc.
So I don't know if y'all caught that, but I caught that when you said that, and essentially you can use the credit card right now. You don't have to pay the credit card until the end of the month.
Right.
I like that. I caught that, Peacock.
People got some serious credit card debt too, and like that can cause some problems when you're, say, trying to buy a house, right, Croc?
Oh yeah,
we know all about that, right?
I had to get all my balances to almost zero.
Yeah,
really low.
You got to be in charge of your credit. You can utilize credit as a strength as well, though. You just got to know how to use it and not abuse it. 7-round mock draft from Dane Brugler. Croc, that's why we're the number one podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, right? Dane Brugler going with Johnny Newton, defensive tackle out of Illinois at pick 31 to the 49ers in his 7-round mock draft. He's a player that you and I have both liked a lot when we watched him on tape, Croc. I think it'd be a fantastic fit for the 49ers. I think some 49ers fans would be maybe disappointed because they're really thinking of a certain position in the draft. But Johnny Newton's a beast of a pass rusher. And if you can get a pass rusher, and we know the 49ers value it, they don't have a lot of long-term options at defensive tackle right now.
Was Robinson available? That's what I would like to know. Well, I'm stuck on Robinson. I know you did a mock.
Chop or Darius? Darius was still available. Chop was not available. So Chop went. Darius was still on the board. Do you think so Darius Robinson, a little bit more versatile, he played end, but he played D tackle earlier at Missouri. Johnny Newton's pure defensive tackle, 3 technique, 6'1", 300-pound player. If
a guy like 49ers they've liked those guys. They've had a guy right now. Gosh, why am I blanking on his name? But Kevin Givens. Kevin Givens has hung around because he's kind of that, right? Like, not the biggest of guy, penetrating defensive tackle, 3 tech get in there right now. So they've kind of gone with some guys, Kalia Davis, who we haven't seen a whole lot of, but guys that are kind of in that build. DJ Jones was kind of in that build as well.
If Darius Robinson was just a defensive tackle and we were considering him only as a defensive tackle, I think Robinson could play both in the NFL. Would you like Newton more as just a tackle or Darius Robinson just as a tackle? Do you like Robinson more as just an end, or do you like Robinson more as a guy who can play outside and in? Or do you just like Robinson better than Newton?
I like Robinson because I've seen exactly how he looks in this defense. Like that guy, Charles Omenihu. stout versus the run on the outside, sets the edge. Some of the weaknesses the 49ers had late last year, but can give you some pass rush productivity from the outside as well as in the inside. I watched them take on doubles. I watched them split doubles. Just those things just kind of excite me for a job that's not the most exciting, because he's not Chop Robinson. He's not going to bend the corner looking like Von Miller, get to the quarterback, super athletic freak. Like, he's not that guy. But to just see what he did and how that directly correlates to the 49ers, oh, man, for whatever reason, it got me excited.
Some people were hating on me. I did a 7-round. I've done 2 7-round mock drafts on Overtime with Brian Peacock, OT with BP. Just finished one before we started recording this. And I did take Darius Robinson in the first round. The last time I took Johnny Newton, and I took Johnny Newton over Cooper DeJean. And some people were really mad in the comments, thinking it was a no-brainer pick for Cooper DeJean at 31. If it was between Cooper DeJean and Johnny Newton, would you go Johnny Newton? If like KoolAid was there and Darius Robinson were there, who would you take between that group of like 4 guys?
Are we drafting Cooper as a safety or whatever we want?
You get to do whatever you want with him. He's your draft pick.
Ooh, I'd probably go Coop. He just would play star position for me. And I like the versatility of having a defensive, a playmaking defensive back there. I know he has ability to tackle. I know he understands zone schemes. He's really good playing with his eyes. I feel like I could put him out there at safety as well. I know he can cover if he has to play outside, but obviously I like more of the versatility of him. Like, what made Jimmy Ward so good in the 49ers defense? It was, man, he's a safety, too high guy, come down in the box, make plays, tackle. He does all those things. You can line him up against tight ends. You can line him up against Cooper Kupp. Those were the things that excited me about him and how he fit in the defense. I think Cooper is, I feel like he's that kind of role. Like, He would have that kind of role if Eric Crocker is drafting him.
Right. But he's a 2nd-round guy for you if you're just leaving him at outside corner.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I agree with you. I'm 100% on board with that exact scouting report on Cooper DeJean. My question would be, okay, 49ers draft Cooper DeJean. He's a nickel now? Or is he starting at safety?
Well, if he's a nickel, again, star is Jalen Ramsey. Guys, ignore my dog if you guys watching on YouTube.
A dog in the background.
Star, if you're thinking of star position, that's Minka Fitzpatrick at Alabama. That's Jalen Ramsey on the Rams. Like, that's a guy who play outside, play inside. Okay. The Rams one year that he played in the slot more than any other position. So I wouldn't even look at it as like Kwan Williams slot. Right. It's like, no, this is a legit starting position. You're on the field and you have a lot of responsibility.
So DeJean plays nickel, right?
Yes.
Okay, base defense. Is he on the bench? Is he outside corner? Is he safety?
He's at safety.
Okay, so he's safety / nickel.
Yes, or you can call him big nickel, and you more of your sets are Warner, Greenlaw, and DeJean, depending on how you want to view him.
So he flat out doesn't play corner for you. Period.
No,
he's a safety / walks down, plays nickel. He's Jimmy Ward.
He's Jimmy Ward.
Okay, and you take that over a defensive lineman or a true corner?
Yes, at this spot, because now if we were talking about, you got the 8th overall pick and you have this stud just bend the corner edge rusher, then okay, yeah, give me that guy. For sure.
I thought you were slam dunk KoolAid over Cooper guy.
Did you tell me KoolAid was available?
KoolAid. I said KoolAid in there as well. You take KoolAid over Cooper then?
No.
You take
I love KoolAid. If you're just telling me I have to draft these guys as pure corners, then I like the upside of KoolAid more, just with how I like to call defense. Let me play man, press, man, just get out there and guard this guy, right? Or, oh, man, we got to guard Diggs this week. All right, well, we drafted you to be able to guard guys like this. I like that. And I would not say the same for DeJean. But if you're telling me draft him as a corner or draft Coop as a guy that's just more of a versatile piece in my defense, I would take the more versatile piece in my defense, who also has return ability as well.
So I'm surprised to hear you say that based on your scouting report for Coop, but we're looking at him more as a corner at that point, not really projecting him what he could be inside as a player. And maybe he's if you view him as an all-pro safety nickel type of a player, and you view the defensive linemen or offensive linemen or other corners as just like solid players, then yeah, you have to take the pick of the guy who's like the all pro, right? And so if that's how you view what Cooper DeJean is, and it's a little bit of a projection, although we've seen him kind of play that way, but as a corner in college, I don't know how the 49ers would use him. And on Croc, it might be a 3-hour episode. Croc is going to join me on Overtime with Brian Peacock, OT with BP. Check that out. It's the reason we're doing this on that other channel is because we're going to go a long time. We got to hammer out our big board. And Croc, we're going to have to make those decisions. Like, we're going to have to rank these guys. And it just took us 5 minutes to talk about where to rank one guy. We're going to have to put Cooper DeJean ranked right next to, in order, with KoolAid and Darius Robinson. We're going to have to figure this out.
As long as we, ahead of time, come to an agreement on what his position is.
We are drafting for the 49. Like, we don't get to coach them. We just get to draft them. We're the front office, Croc. So we have to project how the team is going to use them. That's going to be part of it, and how we evaluate these guys. Second, we got to move on. Brugler's mock second round pick, Andrew Phillips, cornerback out of Kentucky. That was the same pick that Mel Kiper had for the 49ers in round 2. He has been someone that the 49ers have met with, would be an ideal, more of a nickel. Does that factor in? We got to think about that. Who could be? It's probably easier to find a nickel later in the draft than it is to find an outside starting corner. I think that drops off a lot after KoolAid to find a starting caliber pass rusher, defensive end, defensive tackle type of player. So you have to factor that in to how you go about round 1 versus who might be there later in the draft and how you acquire certain positions. You can always find a nickel. You can't always find a starting tackle. You can't always find a starting defensive end or a demon of a pass rushing defensive tackle. Jared Wiley, TCU tight end, pick 94 for the 49ers. He's a player that's gotten a little steam late in the draft process. Day 3, we have Luke McCaffrey out of Rice, very popular. I drafted him in this exact same spot, actually. And this is the first time I'm seeing this in my mock draft I just did on OT with BP. Very interesting. Zach Zinter, guard from Michigan, in round 4, excuse me. And Christian Jones, tackle from Texas, in round 4. And I went bottom to top for some reason. So it was actually in round 4, the 3 picks. It was Jones out of Texas, offensive tackle, Zach Zinter, who I don't think is a great fit for the 49ers style of play, out of Michigan, guard in the 4th round, and then Luke McCaffrey at the end of the 4th round. Let me go through a couple more picks here. We got end of round 5 for the 49ers, Jordan McGee, linebacker out of Temple, and Blake Watson, running back from Memphis, Khalid Duke, and let's see, the final pick, 7th rounder, Kamal Haddon, cornerback from Tennessee. Interesting. Linebackers and defensive backs on day 3 is really what the 49ers have sniffed around a lot with their meetings. So I'm kind of with him on that. What do you think about the other picks? Luke McCaffrey, Drew Phillips, Croc, and going offensive line and waiting until round 4 for the offensive lineman.
Not it's hard, with any mock, right? You can pick out what you like or don't like, and it's terrible. But if you told me, hey man, 49ers got the nickel corner in the 2nd round, you got Newton, who's going to have his role as a 3 tech, and you lost Ken Law and what he was supposed to be, and obviously they signed a lot of free agents as well. But this is more of a long-term type guy that you plan on having a role right away. McCaffrey, if he's anything like his brother, in the sense of work ethic, things like that, I feel like he's somebody that fits what Kyle Shanahan. Kyle probably looks at himself like, I was like him, but just not as athletic.
That's exactly how Kyle is going to look at Luke McCaffrey. This was the type of player I was, and I think that's why. That's why he liked Kendrick Bourne, and I think that's the perfect role that McCaffrey would play in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So, all right, Croc, we got to get out of here. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen. Croc and I back tomorrow, right here. Locked On 49ers.